60 and FM 101.1. We are brought to you by First Commonwealth Bank. 7:47 Monday morning, time for Martial Law with attorney Marshall Chriswell. We remind you that this radio program is intended to be for informational purposes only. This information does not constitute legal advice. The law is constantly changing, and the information may not be complete or correct depending on the date and your particular legal problem. Each legal problem depends on its individual facts, and different jurisdictions have different laws and regulations. Now, because of these differences, you should not act or rely on any information in this segment without seeking the advice of a competent attorney licensed to practice law in your jurisdiction for your particular problem. And Marshall, this morning, you're going to fill us in on what folks should do when they need to choose a lawyer.
Yeah, good morning. There may be folks out there who have legal problems or think that they may have a legal issue they need to talk to an attorney about, but not really know how to find one, or more importantly, how to choose the right attorney for that particular problem. So the number one thing is, the first step is, okay, how do I locate a lawyer? And that's pretty simple, right? You go in the phone book, or you go online, and you get a list of names of lawyers that and their contact information. Okay, how do I find somebody? Well, first of all, there may be a better way to do that. Word of mouth is always a little bit better than those methods. But also, if you've used a lawyer in the past, or if you have a lawyer that you trust, you can always ask for recommendations, especially if it's not in that particular lawyer's practice area. So I get people that call me all the time for things that I don't handle, friends or prior clients that say, hey, do you know somebody that handles workers' compensation or intellectual property law or criminal law, things that I don't handle. So that's a good way to find a lawyer. Now, once you've kind of got a few lawyers in mind, I think it's important to talk to more than one attorney. Okay, talk to a few lawyers and say, okay, this is the issue, and the number one thing you want to know is, do they handle those types of cases? Okay, because something that, particularly in a small town, sometimes people don't realize is that even in a small town, lawyers do specialize in particular areas. We can't all be general practitioners that do everything. It's very difficult to be good at everything. You can't be a jack of all trades in the legal profession in some respects. So that's important. Okay, are you in my practice area? And if it's a real specialized area, I mentioned intellectual property, workers' compensation. Those are two that you really want to make sure you find somebody that has a lot of experience in those areas. So that's the first step.
Well, that was one of my questions. Experience needs to be an important factor, but does that make it rough for the young lawyers who are just starting out? Somebody might say, well, this guy over here, he's been doing this 20 years. This guy's brand new.
Yeah, well, that's true. And that leads into a couple of questions. The experience is important. There are some areas that are highly specialized that require, that I really would want somebody to have a lot of experience in. There are areas that are more accessible areas of law that younger attorneys, criminal law is one of those, family law is one. You can do a good job without having 20, 30 years of experience working under somebody and things like that. But the other thing is, you've got to find somebody, and in the course of talking to these lawyers, you've got to bring up the issue of what's it going to cost me, and that's something that clients always want to know, and an attorney that's much more experienced is going to charge a much higher hourly rate. So there's also a question of, okay, is this the right lawyer for me? Do they have the experience in the area that I want to hire them for? But also, is it realistic for me from a cost perspective? So there's that consideration as well.
So there's no really set fee from attorney to attorney, correct?
There is not, and it's like anything. It's an open market. So attorneys charge either hourly rates or flat fees or contingency fees. A contingency fee is what you always hear. For instance, personal injury attorneys say, we don't get paid unless we win your case, unless we get money for you, right?
Right.
So those types of fees. So the types of fees are different from case to case, and attorneys charge different rates.
And some will charge on a percentage?
Some will
Correct?
charge for certain types of cases. There are ethical rules that say that I can't take for instance, a family law case, a divorce case, and make it a contingent case, meaning I can't say, okay, I'll take a percentage of what you get in a divorce settlement, things like that. So, but personal injury, workers' compensation, Social Security, disability cases, those are all usually contingency cases, yeah.
And your specialties and points of interest are?
Yeah, I practice mainly real estate. So I do real estate transactions. I assist people with real estate disputes, boundary disputes, small business formations, and kind of guidance with folks that are setting up and operating small businesses. Family law, and then also I do a lot of estate planning work, so writing wills and trusts, powers of attorney, healthcare powers of attorney, living wills, and then also handling probate estates.
Now, as you go along in the years to come, could you add different segments to what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, that's something that lawyers have requirements for continuing legal education. So every year I have to do a minimum of 15 hours of legal education. So you're constantly gaining new knowledge and learning about different areas of the law, and then putting those into practice.
Marshall Chriswell is our guest. It's Marshall Law. For folks listening for the first time, your offices are in the atrium in downtown Indiana.
It is, 665 Philadelphia Street, and my website is www.westernpalawyer.com. I was thinking, another thing, if you're thinking about hiring an attorney, and you're talking to a few lawyers and saying, okay, is this the right fit for me? Really pay attention to, the way that the lawyer communicates with you, because when you're talking about legal issues, a lot of times, members of John Q. Public, they don't understand those issues because they don't have the knowledge base and the experience and the education to understand those things. So, can the lawyer that you're talking to bring the legal issues in your case down to the level that you can understand them, because that's a big issue in our profession. When you get reviews from clients or you speak with people that have dealt with lawyers, they say, I didn't understand what he was talking about, or he didn't take the time, and that's a lot of times is even more important, didn't take the time to communicate to me what I needed to know to properly let them effectively handle my case. So that's huge, is communication. And
your lawyer should be available to answer questions without making you wait a long period of time, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Lawyers are very busy. Obviously, we have most of us have many cases we're handling at any one time, but a lawyer should keep you reasonably apprised of the matter that he's handling for you. Sure.
And if you do have somebody working for you, a lot of times they can take those phone calls or inquiries if you're tied up with something else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's another thing, if there's staff, if there are more than one attorney in the office, or they have staff members who are integrally, they're integrated in, they're actually working on the cases, and then, you want to meet those folks too, and make sure that you're comfortable, because a lot of times those are the people that, in my office, it's Melissa, and Melissa's been with me a while now, and she's great, absolutely great. She's where the rubber meets the road, okay? And that's where, you walk into the office or you call, you're going to talk to her, and you want to be comfortable with that person as well.
Different parts of the country, different things that lawyers need to keep up on, correct?
Sure.
As far as location is concerned?
Location is highly important. You're going to want somebody that is obviously licensed in the jurisdiction that your problem is, and an attorney's going to be able to tell you right away, well, that's governed by Maryland law, and I can't do that, whatever it may be. The other thing is something that I think people take for granted or don't take into account is being local. If you have a case here in Indiana County, unless there's some really compelling reason to go hire an attorney from Pittsburgh or Philadelphia, I would much rather have an attorney that's located here in Indiana County. They're familiar with the other attorneys. They're familiar with the local procedures, which can vary greatly from county to county. They're familiar with the judges, and so you're going to get. Plus, they don't have to travel, and you're going to spend less money. So it's highly important.
Okay, we're out of time, but Marshall, thank you so much for stopping by. Todd will speak with you again next month.
Okay, thanks a lot.
It is Indiana in the Morning. Coming up, we're going to take a look at that news. Josh will be here, and also Jack Benedict with a look at morning sports headlines on the way.